Dear learners, Namaste and welcome back to Middle Class University. I am your host Abhijit Holla. In today's video, we are going to learn about framework for commercialization of an infrastructure, stakeholding, accountability and autonomy, and why privatization helps in better stakeholding, accountability and autonomy. And then in the end, I'll give the definition of public-private partnership, which is abbreviated shortly as PPP. So let us move on to the next slide. Let us now learn about the framework for commercialization. We know to improve any infrastructure, we have to work on three areas. The first area is building the asset, the second area is maintaining the asset, and the third area is service delivery. Let us learn about building the asset. Building the asset is making sure that the infrastructure is completed effectively, efficiently, and it is completed on time. When we have to make sure that the infrastructure is completed efficiently and on time, we have to also make sure that the issues with respect to an infrastructure like land acquisition and project management delays should be addressed as soon as possible. If we do not address these things, building the asset will become very difficult. So the next point is maintaining the asset. Consider the example of road. Building the road is one part of framework of an infrastructure. Maintaining the road is another framework for that particular infrastructure. Now, maintaining the asset becomes very important because the road wears off quickly after a period of 6 months or 1 year. So, what we have to make sure is that repair and maintenance should be done in the regular interval of time so that the road doesn't become hazardous. There is no single pothole in the road, and there shouldn't be any accidents taking place because of that particular road. So this was all about maintaining the asset. The next point is the service delivery. Service delivery is actually as important as building the asset and maintaining the asset. This is because building the asset and maintaining the asset is one side. If we build a road, for example, and we maintain the road properly, but we do not have the fuel stations or other emergency, for example, hospital or a clinic or a first aid center nearby, then traveling on that road will become very hard and very dangerous. So what does service delivery actually mean is that it is one of the framework for commercialization, which focuses on meeting the needs of users, like adding rest stops, fuel stations, or emergency services on the highways to make sure that travel becomes more safer and easier. This was with respect to the example of road. For different examples, there will be different type of service deliveries. So this was all about the framework for commercialization. And for better management, that is for better asset creation, maintenance, and service quality, infrastructure should have the following. So the first thing is stakeholding, the second thing is accountability, and the third thing is autonomy. So let us understand what is the definition of stakeholding, accountability, and autonomy. So first thing is stakeholding. Stakeholding is ensuring that the developers have a stake in the success of the project. When we say that the developers have a stake in the success of the project, it also means that developers should have a stake in the failure of the project as well. So this was all about stakeholding. Then the next point is accountability. Accountability is assigning the clear responsibilities and standards to keep the project running well. So if we do not keep an agency or a developer accountable for that particular work, then that will not take place smoothly. So this was all about accountability. The third point is autonomy. Autonomy is allowing enough freedom for managers to make decisions that improve user experience. For example, in an infrastructure, if we do not give that particular freedom to the managers, then the entire process will take place in the same old-fashioned style, which is not so good for an infrastructure. But if we give freedom for all those managers who run that particular infrastructure, they can also bring in innovation. They can also bring in some of the different methodologies which helps running the infrastructure in a more efficient way. So this was all about autonomy. Let me move on to the next slide. Let us understand the reasons why privatization improves stakeholding. When a private entity invests in a project, it has the direct interest in making it successful and also to ensure good returns, because only when they invest and get the good returns from that particular project, they can build a reputation as an entity and get more projects in the same domain. So it is also important to set the right scope for the private party's investment. If the project is too large, it will become too much to handle. Or if it is too small, there will not be enough scope for the meaningful stakeholding. So it might not work well. So this adjustment is actually called as the concept of bundling. Infrastructure projects can be bundled in two ways. The first thing is horizontal bundling, and the second type of bundling is the vertical bundling. Now let us learn what is horizontal bundling. Horizontal bundling is a simple concept where we group similar activities together. For example, let us consider a telecom license covering multiple states. Now, there is one type of activity, that is the telecom infrastructure. Now we are assigning a same entity to perform the similar activity in different states. So this is the perfect example of grouping similar activities together. And the next type of bundling is the vertical bundling. In vertical bundling, what we do is we include related activities in a bundle. And the perfect example for the vertical bundling is, the power industry or the electricity industry. There we have related activities like generation of electricity, transmission of electricity, and distribution of electricity. If we group them together, that will be perfect example for vertical bundling. After doing the vertical bundling, we assign that particular infrastructure to a private entity to run and manage it. So there is also another concept called as unbundling. When the project becomes too bulky or when the project becomes too much to handle, then what we have to do is we have to unbundle certain processes in order to create smaller and more manageable bundles for the stakeholders. So this is also one of the important concepts in stakeholding, that is unbundling. So let me move on to the next slide. Let us now understand accountability and the reasons why privatization improve accountability. So we know that the privatization often brings in competition. So when competition exists, it improves accountability, making providers or the companies responsible to users offering better services. So let us learn more about this competition. There are a lot of types in this competition, majorly three types of competitions. The first competition is the competition in the market. So what is this competition in the market is when multiple providers serve the same area, each provider competes to attract the users. The perfect example for the competition in the market is the construction industry. We can observe that there are a lot of construction companies offering the construction of houses in the different price ranges per square feet. But that company which actually provides better service or the best service in affordable range wins the competition. This is the competition in the market. The next type of competition is the competition for the market. This is the different type of competition where only one provider serves the same area. The competition is very much limited to choose the best provider for a fixed period of time. This type of competition takes place when that particular market is very much new and that player who is providing the service would be the inventor of that particular infrastructure. This was all about competition for the market. The next type of competition is substitute competition. The substitute competition is such type of competition where even between different services there will be competition for one end goal. For example, if we consider conveying the message as an end goal, here we can observe two different industry. One industry is the telecommunication industry where sending messages happens in seconds, and there is another industry which is postal services which uses transportation to send the letter from one place to another. So these are two different industries, but the end goal is same. So the competition between these two entities will be substitute competition. Let me move on to the next slide. Let us now understand autonomy and also analyze why privatization is very much important in this case as well. So the first point we are discussing is in government run systems, there will be bureaucratic restrictions and low flexibility in order to take a decision. If a government has to take the decision, that particular discussion will take place at the different levels. There will be a lot of officers who are taking decision. So there will not be any flexibility in the government run system to take the decision with respect to the infrastructure. So in this case, corporatization will be advantageous. It can give more autonomy by letting public agencies operate like companies, offering more decision making freedom. Privatization can also, offer independent and swift decision making, and more independent decisions can be taken if privatization hails. And the approach of corporatization is sometimes adopted even within the public sector. It is not that the corporatization concept is only in the private sector, but the thing is, if we add private sector partnership into the public sector, it often brings in additional benefits. So with this, I think I can actually define what we call as public-private partnership. So let me move on to the next slide. Let us now understand the definition of public-private partnership, which is abbreviated as Triple P. So the Triple P is the collaboration between the government and the private sector for public projects. So according to the Ministry of Finance, Government of India, Triple P functions with the following parameters. Let us see one by one. So the first parameter with which the Triple P or the public-private partnership functions is the partnership structure. So what is this partnership structure? A government or a government-owned entity works with a private company to develop public asset or service. This is related to asset creation. So for the sake of asset creation, any government body which actually collaborates with a private company to develop it. So this was all about partnership structure. So the next parameter of Triple P is risk and performance. When the government solely manages the infrastructure, there are a lot of risks associated with that particular infrastructure. But with the inclusion of a private company in the infrastructure, that particular private company shares the project's risk, and that particular company is paid based on the performance. It must actually meet certain quality requirements, certain measurable standards, then the company is paid accordingly. So this risk and performance factor is very much important in the case of public-private partnership. And the third function or the third parameter is the time period. So this partnership is for a specific period between the public entity and the private entity, allowing the private sectors to make investment and manage the project during this time. So by this, we can also ensure that the project is completed on time, which was the biggest challenge when the governments controlled and managed the infrastructure. So this was all about today's video. This is my LinkedIn newsletter where I share my opinions based on infrastructure and other civil engineering related topics. I would like you to subscribe to that as well. And this is my YouTube channel, the Middle Class University. For now, I have only 67 subscribers. So please subscribe to my channel if you are new to my channel. Like my video, share it with your friends, and press that bell icon. Until next time. Thank you.